Oh, NFL fans, Falcons fans, great to have you with me. And I say me because it's just going to be running the show solo. We're flying it solo this week. Welcome to Jackson Pigskins. I'm Tom Pollen. I'm going to take you through this next hour, and we're going to talk quarterbacks. The new Netflix series is starting next week, the 8-part next Netflix series on quarterbacks. Plus, I want to start looking at the Falcons' competition in the NFC South. And, of course, you can't go anywhere without a quarterback. So let's see how the Falcons do measure up against their opponents at the quarterback position, the most important position on the field. Before I do that, I want to thank Chris Smitherman, who's behind the scenes producing the show. And want to introduce you to Prize Picks, sponsor of the show. Place a $100 deposit up to, well, at least a $100 deposit on Prize Picks. They will match up to $100. Well, God, I'm always terrible at this. They will match your up to $100 of your first deposit on Prize Picks. There, I got it. Use the promo code ASU so that they know that it is this show, this channel, Atlanta Sports Unlimited, that you are supporting. So again, promo code ASU, and they match up to $100 of your first deposit. So Prize Picks. And I'm going to give you the prize pick of the week from the Atlanta Falcons. Going to be an interesting one because you don't know how this is going to play out in once the season starts. But they have Bijan Robinson at 8.5 rushing touchdowns. Not an easy thing because I would say Bijan Robinson with 8.5 touchdowns is a definite. I think, I don't have any question that he can do that in 2023. What I do question is, are they all going to be rushing? He's going to get some receiving touchdowns. He's also going to have to contend with Tyler Algier when the ball gets close to the goal line. How many touchdowns is Algier going to have? How many times is Algier going to get the ball once the Falcons get within the 5-yard line? So there's a lot of variables in there to see if Bijan Robinson can hit that 8.5 rushing touchdown mark. 8.5 touchdowns? Yeah. 8.5 rushing touchdowns? Well, got a little question about that. But again, use the promo code ASU, sign up for Prize Picks, let them know that Atlanta Sports Unlimited sent you. And if you don't want to do player props on football, you can do them on Major League Baseball. You have PGA, WNBA, Canadian Football League. If you just can't get enough football and you're going to start watching the product from over the border, you can place player props on Canadian Football League. Lacrosse. If you're a big lacrosse fan, they have lacrosse. And this week, today, the Chrome are playing the Water Dogs in Premier Lacrosse. So, and when the Chrome and the Water Dogs get together, throughout all the statistics, just these two teams hate each other. So, yeah. Oh God. But yes, so you have plenty of options on Prize Pick. Go to Prize Picks and sign up. We're going to go into, as I said, we're going to go into quarterbacks. First, I want to give a little rant. Reading articles this week, getting up to speed on some of the things that I wanted to talk to today. I'm seeing a lot of clickbait on a lot of football sites. And I've always hated clickbait. I have seen this week Cordero Patterson in roster trouble. Coach Smith on the hot seat. DeAndre Hopkins. If the Falcons could just sign DeAndre Hopkins, how great that would be for the team. If this is the best you can do when it comes to writing, and I know I've written for a dozen years, and I know how tough June and early July can be to write articles about the NFL. It's murder to try to find legit subjects that people are going to be interested in and people are going to want to read. But those kind of articles, you're pulling a topic out of left field. It's something you feel can be easy to write right now. You have a few stats that you can back them up with. But if this is the best you can do, and if anybody is writing for football sites and you're watching this, if this is the best you can do when it comes to writing, get out of the business. You do not belong here. All right. You have no business being a football writer. There are a lot of good things you could still find in late May, June, early July to keep your audience connected with you, connected with your website. Saying, boy, DeAndre Hopkins, if you would just sign with the Falcons, that would be so wonderful. Not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The fans know it's not going to happen. It's just ridiculous. Get out of the business. Don't do it if that's the best you can do. And if you're a website encouraging these articles, get out of the business. If this is the best you can do, don't do it. You're just not worth reading. I usually tune out writers and websites that go that direction. Because you're not getting anything. You're not getting any real analysis. You're not getting anything out of these sites and articles. All right, my rant is out of the way. And boy, I feel better. I hope you do too. So what I want to start out with is, and if you're unfamiliar, if you hadn't heard of this yet, Netflix is coming out with a series called Quarterback. Now, I can't do it like John Facenda. If you know NFL Films, John Facenda, the voice of God. If you don't know him, look him up on YouTube. I'm sure there are John Facenda clips out there. Facenda was the original voice of NFL Films. I just can't get deep enough. And as I said, he was known as the voice of God, and for good reason. He made NFL Films what NFL Films was when they first started out. But so I will not try to imitate John Facenda anymore. I promise you. Starting July 12th, this series starts, and it's kind of unprecedented because they got permission from the NFL and permission from these players to follow them, not just on the field, but in the locker rooms and in their personal lives. And it's fascinating. The trailer for this series has dropped. You can catch the trailer on YouTube. If you look up Quarterback and Netflix, you'll find the trailer, and the trailer is actually very interesting. Because what you have is you're going to see these guys at home, in the locker room, on the field, preparing for games. You're going to see Patrick Mahomes, who obviously is the template, the top of the hill for quarterbacks right now. I suppose if Mahomes didn't agree to do this, you might have gotten Joe Burrow or Josh Allen, but you get the best. Patrick Mahomes is going to take you through his 2022 season. And it just for that, it should be fascinating. Then you will have Kirk Cousins, average quarterback, not a bad quarterback. The Vikings have won with him. What do you think, Zozo? Zozo's making her cameo here. She will not be making a cameo on quarterback. But Kirk Cousins is a guy who has won, but has always fallen short of the pinnacle. So, and the third quarterback we're getting is Marcus Mariota, which I am fascinated by. I can't wait to see what went on behind the scenes with Marcus Mariota. As it should be fascinating because we all suffered through just a very frustrating 2022 season watching Mariota attempt to play football and attempt to be a starting quarterback again. And what I'm going to be interested in seeing is how his season started through when he first started, when Arthur Smith first started seeing that Mariota couldn't run his offense. And when Arthur Smith started going more heavily into the running game, quit trying to put the performance of the offense on Marcus Mariota, when he gave it more to his running backs and let them try to carry the offense. So I'm going to want to see how that developed, how Mariota reacted to the playbook week by week, reacted to the game plans week by week. Did he bring it up with Smith that, my game plans aren't as complicated? Because I know Smith started trying to believe that Mariota was going to be a starter, might have been the starter that the Falcons were looking for, but had to pare back the playbook every week because Mariota could not handle the concepts that Arthur Smith had in his playbook. So how did that progress? How did Mariota react as Arthur Smith began to cut back on his playbook? It's going to be fascinating to see. How did his home life go? What was his level of frustration? What was the level of frustration with his teammates, with Mariota? And you're going to see it all. You're going to get a chance to see it. So it's just going to be interesting. We're going to see when Marcus Mariota left the team after being benched, and during the bye week, that Atlanta had a late bye week. Mariota got benched. It was announced Desmond Ridder would be the quarterback, and Mariota left the team. And supposedly because he had an injury, he needed to get a surgery. I want to see him get that surgery because I doubt he had a surgery. I want to see if he had a surgery. Hey, Wallace Smith, what's going on, Tom? Wallace, it's going great. Feeling good Saturday morning, and I get to talk football with all of you. So hope things are going well with you too, Wallace. But one of the fun things in the trailer that I will bring up is they show one of their interviews with Mariota, the documentary interview that you get now, that's a standard, where he's going face front with the camera. And he says, my instinct has always been, I'm the guy to make the play. And then the trailer cuts to Mariota trying to make that throw off his back and flipping the ball out anywhere. And it finishes off the quote saying, and I think that kind of gets me in trouble. No kidding, Marcus. No kidding. Making stupid plays gets you into trouble. That was not trying to make a play. That was just being idiotic. that's showing a decision-making process that's just completely out of left field. That's not creative. Patrick Mahomes is creative. Patrick Mahomes does, and even in the trailer, you're going to see some just incredible stuff from Patrick Mahomes. Wallace Smith commenting, and that surgery never happened with Mariota, because if it did, he would not have been physically fit to sign with the Eagles. That's a point, Wallace. That is a question, because I don't remember the Eagles saying they had any problem with his physical. I don't recall it coming out that anything had any that. So don't get your tail down. That they had any problems with his physical when Mariota signed. So that is a great point, Wallace. And I just don't think. I think the injury was an excuse. I think the surgery was an excuse. I still hold Mariota. I want to see again, will this show the Falcons after Mariota left? Will we get reaction from his teammates? Or when Mariota leaves the Falcons, is that all we see of the Falcons? I will be fascinated to see how that works out. Because again, did Mariota have the surgery? I'm saying he didn't. I'm saying that was an excuse. I'm saying he quit on the team when he could have been a mentor to Desmond Ridder, when he still could have been a positive influence on this team. Were his teammates so frustrated with him by that point that he found no reason to stay with this team? Because there was talk about frustrations that his teammates were having with Marcus Mariota. Were those at a point where Mariota decided he was just going to cut bait, cut loose, and that was going to be it? I want to see that. I'm fascinated by that. And that's going to come later in the series. And I know a lot of people, everybody's going to be watching it for Patrick Mahomes because he's special. He really is. He's going to be the man you measure quarterbacks against for a long time. So Larry Orange says he didn't have an injury. He got his feelings hurt. That was his injury, Larry Orange. Yeah, he got his feelings hurt. He had to have surgery on his feelings. I love you guys. So, yeah, there you go. Wallace and Larry both pretty well have this nailed. So, as I say, everybody's going to have their eyes on Patrick Mahomes for good reason. Kirk Cousins is going to draw a lot of attention because Kirk Cousins taken a lot of criticism in the league. And some of it for good reason. Some of it I don't think is for good reason. But, you know, as they say, a quarterback who's never reached the pinnacle. And then a guy who was on his last legs, a guy who was getting his last chance to start in the NFL. So that's what we have. And that's kind of how they picked these quarterbacks. They wanted a top one. They wanted a middling guy, a guy who's good but hasn't hit it, and a guy who is struggling to save his career. And it's going to be better than Hard Knocks, folks. All right. This is going to be better than having the Falcons on Hard Knocks for 2022. Because this is all going to be pure film coverage, documentary film coverage. I'm going to love it. I can't wait to see how this plays out. So, again, going to be on Netflix starting on July 12th, which is, I don't have a calendar in my head all the time, so let me look it up. Going to start on Wednesday, and it's going to be an 8-part series. And if you want to see the trailer, go to YouTube. Well, if we're on YouTube now, go to YouTube, look it up, and watch the trailer for it because the trailer is fascinating and really sells this series. So I'm looking forward to that. Heading into the 2023 season, last year I looked at the Falcons. I looked at the Falcons competition heading into training camp. The Saints, the Panthers, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Kind of went through by position group and did a little analysis of all of it. And what I want to look at is this week is just the quarterbacks, because I think every team in this division has a very interesting quarterback story. And when it comes to the quarterback and how these teams are going to compete in 2023, quarterback is where it starts. You can't go anywhere without a quarterback who's performing. And we're talking up the Falcons fairly well. A lot of fans, a lot of people who watch this show and comment on the show do have a high feeling on the Falcons this year, that they can go somewhere, that this is a quality team, that they've put some real weapons around Desmond Ridder, and it's going to be up to Desmond Ridder as to how far this team goes. And I want to look at, and as I said, we've looked at Desmond for a few times this past year. Let's take a little bit more of a deep dive into Desmond Ridder. Going into the draft, he was a third-round pick, but according to NFL.com, and I have it pulled up here, according to NFL.com, Lance Zierlein had him rated as a first or second round pick. NFL.com did see Ridder as a quarterback who could start in the NFL. As a matter of fact, his prospect grade going in was 6.36, and which equates out to will eventually be a plus starter. So they consider Desmond Ridder a quarterback with a lot of upside, a guy who could really drive the Falcons' performance when he got the chance, when he got in. Also, if you go to Pro Football Focus, not this last week, but the week before, and I didn't bring it up last week, Nick Ackridge, he wrote this article. It published on 6/27. Did a film breakdown of Desmond Ridder. And really fascinating to see. Watching Desmond Ridder, watching him make throws, watching him process what's happening. A lot of good stuff from Nick Ackridge. I do recommend you go to Pro Football Focus and take a look at this. It's very interesting to see. Now, we know Desmond Ridder got off to a rough start. Pro Football Focus had his passing grade at 45.2 after 2 starts, which was 34th in the NFL. Week 17 and 18, Ridder had a passing grade of 76.7. He showed, after 2 games in, for his final 2 starts against Arizona and Tampa Bay. So, rough start, but once Ridder settled in, showed a lot of qualities that you like to see out of a quarterback, and a lot of things that came out in a scouting report heading into the NFL. Again, from Pro Football Focus, adjusted completion percentage. His first 2 weeks as a starter, 64.3, tied for 33rd in the NFL. Last 2 weeks of the season, 73.1, tied for 16th in the NFL. That's a big jump. That is an incredible increase in skills as you see Ritter getting comfortable with being a quarterback, with seeing the speed of the game in front of him. Because we all know seeing the game in college, seeing the game in the preseason does not prepare you for being on the field during a regular season game, seeing defenses at full speed, seeing things happening in front of you at full speed. It just doesn't compare. So, but as we can see, as those two grades from Pro Football Focus point out, he got comfortable very fast. He got acclimated to the NFL game very quickly and very impressive. Now, what you did see from Ritter last year on the field during his 4-game starting gig was a lot of the things that Lance Zierlein emphasized when Ritter was coming out of college. For one thing, Zierlein says in college, his jump in production from 2021 was incredible. It was a great leap of production. Let's go to Wallace Smith again, because I'm counting on you guys to send me comments, folks, because I want to hear what you have to say about the things I'm bringing up. Wallace Smith says Ritter probably would have got drafted in the first round if the teams that were drafting in the top 10 needed a quarterback. True. And you also remember, Wallace, that it was a heavy quarterback draft, probably one of the heaviest quarterback drafts I can ever remember as far as teams and how they were jockeying for quarterbacks. So that's one of the problems is he just, he kind of fell through the cracks because, you had Zach Wilson. God, names aren't coming to me right now. Mac Jones, Justin Fields. So you had an incredible draft. Lawrence, Trevor. Oh, no, I'm talking about, something. I got my drafts mixed up. No, I didn't. I'm sorry, folks. Sometimes this does happen. Happens to me. And Atlanta, Jalen Mayfield. No, okay. I have the wrong draft. I am sorry. 2022 draft. Please forgive me for that one. But, yeah, he dropped to 2023. Yeah, Trayvon Walker to Jacksonville because Jacksonville already had Lawrence. Aiden Hutchinson to Detroit because Detroit had already traded for Jared Goff. Houston, Derek Stingley because Houston was still going to look at Davis Mills for another year. Sauce Gardner for New York Jets, cornerback. So, yeah, Kayvon Thibodeau for the New York Giants. Yeah, the teams just did not need a quarterback. That's why he fell. A lot of these teams had quarterbacks in place. Carolina just picked up Jason Mayfield as their quarterback. So, Iquanu was drafted as tackle. Evan Neal at the Giants. Drake London was the Falcons' first pick. So, yeah, that's the thing. You did not see a lot of quarterbacks go. As a matter of fact, Kenny Pickett was the first quarterback to go, and late in the first round of Pittsburgh. So, great point, Wallace. But let's go back to Desmond Ritter. Plays with confidence and command on the field. Then that was the starting report coming out of college. And I think he does that for the Falcons. I think he especially did that the final 2 games. He has presence. I don't think, and this is one of the things we're going to see in the quarterback documentary, I don't think Mariota really had, yeah, I know, Willis. I just corrected myself. He was in the 22 draft and pick up Willis and Howell. Yeah, this happens to me sometimes where I get my years mixed up a little bit. I do recover. I don't have Dave sitting next to me holding me to task for these little errors that I tend to make. And I do apologize that I spoke wrong and I had my years mixed up. It happens to me. But, yeah. And Pickett, as I say, was the first pick in that draft. But Ritter was actually graded higher than Pickens by NFL.com going into that draft. So that's a little bit surprising. As I said, Ritter was drafted as a guy who would be a plus starter. Looks to win from the pocket. Mobile and athletic, but looks to win from the pocket. I quick to process what the defense shows him. And we saw that out of Desmond Ritter last year. Especially, again, as he got more comfortable in the pocket, he was very quick to process, and you will see this in the film study by Ackridge on Pro Football Focus. It just happens sometimes. Thank you, Wallace. You will see this in the film study that Ackridge does on Pro Football Focus, that Ritter was really doing well processing what was happening, what the defense was showing him, and making great decisions on where to put the ball. So he showed a couple of routes to Drake London, drag route across the middle of the field. It's very interesting. As I say, you get all 22 film showing what Ritter is processing, what he's seeing, and what he's doing is incredible for a guy who's basically, they were showing film of him against Baltimore, his second game as a quarterback. And between his game against the Saints and his game against Baltimore is an incredible jump in the way Ritter was seeing the field, the way Ritter was seeing defenses. So now the thing that, and again, one other positive, use his eyes to hold single high safety and set up the deep shot. And they showed that on Pro Football Focus. Ritter using his eyes to look off defensive backs. And that's not an easy thing to do. You don't see that out of guys who have been in the NFL for 4 or 5 years. And he can do it. He's rookie. He's just going into his second season, his really first season as starter. And he is very good at using his eyes. So a lot of intangibles. And again, one of the things that I wanted to say before is in the quarterback documentary, I want to see Mariota's command of the huddle from week 1 to his last week as a starter. How did his teammates react to him in the huddle? Because I can see when I watched the Falcons' final 4 games of 2022, Desmond Ritter commanded that huddle. His teammates respect him. And, you can respect a guy all you like. You can be as charismatic as you like. You still have to have the skills to play quarterback. So, but his teammates do respect him, respect what he can do. That is a tough thing. That's a tough thing to accomplish. That's a tough thing to do, to grab your veteran players, grab them and have them listening to you and gaining their confidence. Not an easy thing for a quarterback. So he did that. Now, the only thing that Ackridge did point out was Ritter could be inaccurate at times. And he did point that out, but some of the inaccuracies that he pointed out about Ritter were taken from his first game against the Saints when Ritter was struggling. I would say Ritter does not throw the same passes against the Saints that you see on Ackridge's film study. If that was the second or third game, he does not throw those passes. So that's a lot of the positives about Ritter. Again, we're going to see about his accuracy, because that's the one weakness that was pointed out in his scouting report, and one of the things we saw last year. Ackridge finishes up saying he's shown he can process at a high level, and he knows how to work within the pocket to give himself better throwing lanes. It all comes down to how consistently accurate he can be. An accurate Desmond Ritter makes the Falcons offense a very dangerous outfit. And this is after a thorough film study by a writer for Pro Football Focus. And that's why right now, and everybody's a Super Bowl champion before the season starts. Everybody's a Super Bowl champion in training camp. But these are the reasons why I have confidence that Ritter is going to be a quality quarterback. He's not going to be at the level of Mahomes or nobody's going to be at the level of Mahomes. But he's not going to be a Burrow. He's not going to be an Allen. But he can be a quality quarterback in the league. I think he's the type of quarterback who can get you to a Super Bowl. As far as the rest of the division, the New Orleans Saints signed Derek Carr to be their quarterback for the coming season. Jameis Winston's going to back him up. But the Saints, seeing the division the way it is, seeing the division as winnable, picked up Derek Carr to be their quarterback for 2023. To me, Derek Carr, much of the way Baker Mayfield is going to be this season, Derek Carr is on the quarterback hot seat. And much in the way Marcus Mariota was last season. That Mariota was on the quarterback hot seat last year. He had to show that he could start. He did not. He's going to be a backup the rest of his career. Derek Carr is on the quarterback hot seat this year. If he cannot come through with the Raiders, if he cannot come through with the Saints, doing this live is really something. If he can't come through with the Saints, he is not going to be a starter again. Now, Carr's never played fewer than 15 games in a season, but in his 9 seasons as a starting quarterback, his teams have only finished over 500 twice. And he has only appeared in 1 playoff game in 9 seasons. He finished 24th in the league in passer rating last season. Did have to deal with some receiver injuries last year. Also, he had Davante Adams to run routes for him last year. So, part bad, part good, part great, because Davante Adams was an all-pro last year. A positive from Derek Carr last year, 4 fourth-quarter comebacks and 3 game-winning drives. That is, fairly impressive. This is a guy who performed in crunch time and brought his team back and gave his team a chance to win. That's not an easy thing. Again, not an easy thing to do. But still, the Raiders finished below 500. And where did the Raiders finish last year? The Raiders finished 6-11. Okay, couldn't remember the record. I knew it was, had a feeling it was 6 wins. So, overall, again, a failure of the season. And a lot of that under Derek Carr, failures of a season. Some years he starts hot and fades. He had 1 season where he was pretty much everything that the Raiders wanted out of him. In 2016, he was 12-3 at the quarterback position. Was AP was third in AP MVP voting. Threw for 3,937 yards, 28 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. That was Derek Carr. So, but ever since then, he's only had one other above 500 season, and he had a 500 season. We finished 8-8. How is he going to do in New Orleans? He's got a solid offense around him. Running back with Alvin Kamara, with at receiver with Michael Thomas, Traquan Smith, Chris Olave, who came out of college as a highly rated receiver, is going to be in his second year. So he does have a lot of, he's got a lot of players around him where he can make something happen. But it's going to be up to Derek Carr. And so far, Derek Carr has not been able to do it on a consistent level in the NFL. I don't have a lot of faith in the Saints because of that. And my judgment on a quarterback pretty much has a lot to do with my judgment on how a team is going to go in the season. I don't think the Saints are going to have a positive season. I don't think Derek Carr is a top-of-the-line quarterback anymore. I believe he's had 9 seasons to prove himself. He's only had that one good season that I pointed out, a minute ago. And I don't see how he, being the Saints quarterback, lifts that team into the playoffs. I think it's going to be a rough year for the Saints. The Saints have a good defense that's going to help carry them. They have a lot of good weapons around Carr, which will help him. I'm not saying the Saints are going to be the worst in the division, but I don't see Derek Carr carrying them very far this season. If the Saints finish 500 or over 500, I will be surprised because I think the Falcons finish better than the Saints. I like the Falcons' prospects a lot better than the Saints. Tony Wright brings up Desmond Ridder has the same type of arm strength, scrambling ability, the same type of mannerisms as Roger Staubach, and the same leadership qualities. And yeah, you go back to those leadership qualities because Tony Wright does say that he's not saying that Desmond Ridder is Staubach, but he reminds his characteristics, the way Ridder handles himself on the field, reminds him of Staubach. And yeah, it's going back quite a while, Tony. You're showing a bit of your experience here. Because, yeah, I go back to Staubach, too. I watched Staubach play quarterback. But he does have a leadership quality. And I don't think Derek Carr has that leadership quality. I don't think the team rallies around him. The Raiders have never rallied around him. And that's always been a problem. So not looking forward and not seeing the Saints overly successful this year. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield, another quarterback who is on the starter hot seat. First overall in the 2018 NFL draft, picked by the Cleveland Browns. This is a guy who, as I say, if he doesn't make it this year, if he falls short this year, he is not going to be a starting quarterback in this league again. Now, I've kind of always, Derek Carr does still have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, though I don't like the Aints. I'm with you, Tony. But that offensive line is outstanding. Yes, that's going to be a big help. That's going to help him get the ball to his receivers, his quality receivers, and is going to help that Saints running game. So he doesn't have to do it all himself. And Saints do have a defense to work with. So, but I'm still not confident in Derek Carr's ability to rally this team. And I'm going to go into the season feeling that. That's the way it is. But going back to Baker Mayfield, again, on the starting quarterback hot seat. This year is working under Todd Bowles and Dave Canales as the offensive coordinator. Mayfield's history has been kind of checkered in his NFL career. He had an outstanding 2020 season, led the Browns to the playoffs and a dominating win over the Steelers. The Browns just completely gave a beat down to Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. I have never seen Mike Tomlin get beaten like that before. So, but he had that great season then. 2021, basically was using baling wire and duct tape to hold his left shoulder in place while he was trying to play. And I give him credit for trying to be a leader on the field and trying to lead the Browns to another playoff appearance. I'm not going to ever criticize Baker Mayfield for not trying to play, for not trying to be there for his team. However, it did affect his throwing motion. He lost some zip on the football because because of the way his arm was braced. So, but he had a rough year. Went to Carolina for to start out 2022. And again, I feel bad for Mayfield because he was, I think, one of the main victims of that collapse under the team's collapse under Matt Rule, who was, still I consider one of the worst head coaches I've ever seen. And I've seen Abe Gibberin coach for the Bears. So, and I've seen Jim Dooley coach for the Bears. So I'm telling you this, Matt Rule had no business being an NFL head coach. So, and that hurt Baker Mayfield last year. Steve Wilks, when he took over, used Sam Darnold, used PJ Walker, and pretty much bailed out the Panthers season. Actually, the Panthers, Steve Wilks should be the head coach of the Panthers this year because of what he did with nothing last season. And the fact that the Panthers traded away Christian McCaffrey, who was their only player who could do much on offense. Well, not the only one, but their main offensive weapon. And Wilkes still had that team as a comeback team. Should have been rewarded. Was not. And I don't like it, but what can I say? Tony Wright goes, Master Baker Mayfield is not that good in my opinion. All he does is throw picks. Kyle Trask should beat him out, but we'll see. Well, that's the thing, Tony. If Kyle Trask beats out Baker Mayfield, or if at some point Kyle Trask is the starting quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield is finished as a starter. Now, and I'm going to finish my comments with about Baker Mayfield. I've always excused Mayfield because of his injuries. I've always talked him up because he's tough. But at this point, maybe I was giving him too much credit. I'm beginning to think that maybe I was seeing more in Baker Mayfield than is actually there because he's been inconsistent. He's had some monster games. He's had some games where you wonder, where is this? Why are we seeing this just now? And why aren't we seeing this in more games? And I'm at a point where Baker Mayfield's inconsistent. And he's never going to be a consistent quarterback. He has skills. I think he has backup quarterback skills. But he is not a starting quarterback anymore. I think they're going to find that out in Tampa. And I think Tampa is going to have another rough season based on what they have going for them at quarterback. Tony, again, agreed Steve Wilks should have gotten a head coaching job in Carolina. Oh, absolutely. I don't know why he didn't. Well, come on. We know why he didn't, if you're looking at it honestly. But, it's not much you can say. I think that's another problem with the Panthers and their front office and the way they do business. Frank Reich had moderate success with the Indianapolis Colts. He's going to try to bring the Colts back this year. Thomas Brown. I don't think I really know Thomas Brown too well as his offensive coordinator. Spent the last 3 years with the Rams as running backs and assistant head coach. Well, when you're coaching for Sean McVay, I don't know how much assistant head coaching you're doing. But what the Panthers get to go with this year is they are starting fresh with Bryce Young, and first overall pick of the 2023 NFL draft. A lot of a couple first overall picks in this division. It's kind of interesting how this has worked out. And Jameis Winston is a backup for the Saints, and he's a first overall pick. So we've got some, the pedigree of the NFC South quarterbacks is pretty high. The results haven't been there, but we do have some names in this division. So, but Bryce Young is coming in, and the main criticism of Young is he is undersized, and it's going to be rough considering that he's a little smaller, he's a little lighter than the usual NFL quarterback. Now, again, I'm not looking at the Panthers to do much this season because, again, you're starting with a first-year quarterback. And even Peyton Manning had troubles as a first-year quarterback. All right. It's not easy coming into this league and succeeding right away. Troy Aikman had problems as a first-year quarterback. A lot of people have problems as a first-year quarterback. This game takes a lot of getting used to. It's a lot faster than your college game. Things happen in front of you a lot faster. So there's a lot of things that it's going to see Bryce Young adjust to. So, and another thing is the Panthers traded DJ Moore to the Bears. Thank you, Carolina. We appreciate that very much because Justin Fields needs the help. They also, Dante Foreman is on the Bears this year. And I like a stronger version of David Montgomery, who went to the Lions. So you don't have Dante Foreman, and you're not going to have DJ Moore. And Christian McCaffrey, again, was traded middle of last season to the 49ers and found his groove again with the 49ers. All of a sudden, wasn't as injured as much and began playing top football for the San Francisco 49ers. Funny how that happens. So there's going to be some rebuilding on offense for the Panthers this year. There's going to be some work for Frank Reich to do to get Bryce Young up to speed. Strengths, again, I'm going to NFL.com for what we can expect out of Bryce Young heading into his first year as a quarterback in the NFL. Calm demeanor on the field. Played in a pro-style attack that required full field reads. Shows ability to dial up focus in big fourth quarter situations. Uses eye manipulation to create easier throws. Locates and avoids lurking trouble in zone coverage. A lot of positives for a quarterback. And a lot of things you want to see out of a guy who is just coming into the league, but is not considered a prototype NFL quarterback. And I have a problem with the term prototype NFL quarterback because I've seen a lot of prototype NFL quarterbacks bomb in the NFL. All right, you can have the body, you can have the God-given body to play quarterback in the NFL, but it still comes down to between the ears. And I've seen a lot of these prototype quarterbacks not have it between the ears, not be able to turn that body into a quality NFL quarterback. So just because Bryce Young does not have the prototype body, a lot of his strengths pointed out by NFL.com is he has the prototype head. Much like Desmond Ridder, he has the prototype head to be a quarterback. Will the body hold him back? Tony Wright, Bryce Young looks like a little kid standing next to the offensive line. Yeah, that's the thing. When you're 204 pounds and what is his height? 5'10", 204 pounds. Yeah, you stand next to your offensive line, you are going to look like a little kid. It's just the way it is. But he has a lot of talent, as I say, a lot between the ears. And I tend to like that decision-making qualities going into a quarterback than coming into the league with the prototype body. Now, Trevor Lawrence came into the league with the prototype body. However, he had a garbage first-year coach. He finally, I look at Trevor Lawrence's first real season as an NFL quarterback was last year. That was his rookie season. Tony Wright, I believe that C.J. Stroud is the real deal as a young quarterback. You know something, Tony? I agree with you. And I am shocked that I have been reading a lot of rankings going into the season. And a lot of writers, a lot of media have C.J. Stroud at the bottom of their list of NFL quarterbacks right now, of guys who are going to be able to perform as like the 27th, 28th quarterback in the league. You haven't even seen him play quarterback in the league yet. So, but I agree. I think C.J. Stroud, now this is a guy who comes into the league with a prototype body. And we're going to see what he can do, but I think he's got the head, got it between the ears to be a quarterback too. And let me just say, if C.J. Stroud cannot beat out Davis Mills as the Houston Texans quarterback, well, Houston, you got a problem because C.J. Stroud is going to be the starter for that team. And I think he's going to be the starter for a long time. There is a reason why the Texans took him at third and took him number 3. And I believe in his ability. I don't know why everybody is downgrading him so far, but I think he has the ability. He's going to be a quality quarterback. And C.J. Richardson is the guy I have doubts about. So we will see about him. But breaking down how the Falcons look going into the season at the quarterback position compared to their AFC South rivals. To me, looking very, very positive. Because again, I think Derek Carr has the ability, but he's not always shown it at the NFL level. Baker Mayfield, I think, is going to be on the bench by mid-season. I am through advocating for Baker Mayfield. I just can't do it anymore. I can't make excuses for the guy anymore. I think he has a world of ability. I don't think he knows how to make that ability work at the NFL level. And Bryce Young, this is a rebuilding year for Carolina. I don't think Carolina is going to be in the mix for the division. They've lost some key players on offense, and it's going to be rough. And I think they lost a head coach who would have had them winning, who would have brought continuity and made them a winning team. So I think at quarterback, the Falcons do compete with every team in the NFC South. And considering the weapons that Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith have put around him, this could be a fascinating offense. And again, going back to Bridge, what he had to say in Pro Football Focus, he said that an accurate Desmond Ridder, he's looking at Ridder's accuracy, just accuracy, an accurate Desmond Ridder makes the Falcons offense a very dangerous outfit. And I think that's what we have here in Atlanta, is a truly dangerous outfit. We have run out of time. I have talked for an hour. So, and only one screw up. So I think that's pretty good. As I say, I don't have anybody riding herd on me and kind of, nudging me back into the main driver lane. So we hit the wall once, but other than that, I hope you enjoyed being with me today, Saturday, spending an hour with me. I know I love having you guys with me on Saturday. It's morning here in Chicago, but on Saturdays at noon in Atlanta, and talking football, because this is just fun. We love to talk football, and I love doing this and love having you here. And Tony, great show. Thank you. I appreciate that. So we will see you all next week. Remember, just want to say this one more time, Prize Picks, the show's sponsor, they will match up to $100 of your first deposit. Use the promo code ASU and to let them know that you heard of Prize Picks on Atlanta Sports Unlimited. Now, I can do that at the end of the show. I don't know why I can't do that from the show. Amazing. So, again, everybody have a, I come back next week. Look forward to talking to you next week. Break down more of the NFC South. And have a great week, everyone.